Hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos that are designed to provide insight and ideas for business owners through the current climate. As business finance specialists, we predominantly speak to clients around growth and their ambitions and how we finance that. However, we find ourselves almost exclusively now talking with clients about survival, working capital, looking at CBILS, coronavirus, business interruption loan scheme, applications, grants, furlough, VAT deferrals, all these conversations that are currently happening. We're also acutely aware that whilst money is extremely important in a business, there are other factors at play here and many different plates to spin. So we've enlisted the help of some experts who will give us some guidance in topics such as law, business strategy, communication, and building stronger teams, just to name but a few. So let's get started. Hi, my name's Mark, I'm from Yuma Finance and we are property and business finance specialists. In today's video, we're going to take a closer look at commercial property, specifically commercial tenants, and what your obligations are under your lease. So we've enlisted the help of Tom Howells, who's going to talk to us about what that looks like.
Hey Tom, thanks for joining us again. This time we're looking to have a conversation around commercial tenants and the impact that COVID-19 is having on them and what their obligations are under their commercial leases. Could you share some information on that for us?
Yeah, thanks Mark, appreciate that. So I mean the key point again is, as with landlords and tenants, they're all affected by the Coronavirus Act and then the subsequent moratorium on new proceedings for forfeiture for non-payment of rent. So as far as the tenant's concerned, all their obligations remain. The tenant's still liable to pay the rent. It's just that the landlord can't enforce against them and initiate forfeiture proceedings for breach of that provision. The rent will include, in the Act, the rent includes any payments that the tenant makes as normal. So if you normally pay service charge and insurance rent, etc., it's all classed as rent, okay? So I suppose key question really is, as a tenant, can you terminate your lease at this moment in time if you find yourself in a difficult position and you can't pay your rent, or you can't pay your rent like you normally would? And the answer is no. Unless the lease contains specific provisions like a break clause for you to be able to do that. Can you withhold the rent? Again, not unless there's some kind of suspension of rent provision within the lease, which would be unlikely. If in some leases rent payments are linked to turnover, not generally, but some leases would be, and in that instance there may be as an effect of the current situation, that may render tenants being paying slightly less rent than normal. Really, I mean, my advice to any prospective or any tenant who's looking at their situation and is finding it difficult, in the first instance, is look, speak to your solicitor. Your solicitor will be able to review a lease. We offer a service at the moment whereby reviewing a lease for a fixed fee, just having a look at these for clients, just to pick out any aspects of the lease where we can utilise for the client's benefit and reduce their liability in some way. As you know, we've discussed about the grants that are available at the moment. In Wales, you've got the Economic Resilience Fund, which is dependent on business size, and then you've got the Small Business Rate Relief and the Retail, Leisure, Hospitality Sector Grant, whereas in England, Small Business Grant Fund and the License, or the Leisure Grant Fund, sorry, and all of those will be able to help businesses to get through this period of time, provided they qualify for those. Potentially insurance cover, again, this kind of thing is unlikely to be covered in the standard, it certainly won't be covered in the standard policy, but there may be those with special provisions within insurance policies that may help them cover loss of rent. But fourthly, I think probably more importantly is the dialogue. There is a lot of sympathy out there, which is not something you normally associate with that sort of landlord and tenant relationship really, but everyone's in the same boat. And lots of clients that I'm speaking to, landlord clients, are genuinely showing sympathy to their tenants because, like I said, we're all in the same boat. I know cynics may scoff at that and think, oh, landlords, they're just, they're not going to help any tenants, but they really are. And I've spoken to lots of them already who are just more than willing to discuss it. Proactive landlords will speak to their tenants anyway, but if they haven't already, give your landlord a call and open a discussion. Come to some agreement, payment plan. What can you pay? When can you pay it? In the long run, it'll be beneficial for everyone.
Okay, no, fantastic. Really appreciate that. There's some very straightforward, simple advice. Obviously, the more technical stuff, then the guys will come direct to yourselves or to their own lawyers to get some specific advice. But no, thanks for taking the time to just chat that through with us, highlight some of the main areas to think about, and yeah, we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, great. So hopefully you found that insightful. Just to recap, a couple of areas really to look at is, firstly, you've still got to pay your rent. Unfortunately, yes, you still have to pay it. Have your solicitor look over your lease to make sure that it's robust and that you're not in breach or are likely to be in breach of any other terms that are already in place. If you are in financial difficulty and you can't pay your rent, make the most of the resources that are available financially, such as your grants, deferring VAT, furloughing staff, CBILS applications, etc. And lastly, communicate. Communicating with your landlord has got to be the best way to try and overcome any barriers or hurdles that you've got. It's in best interest of both parties that you negotiate something that is mutually agreeable so that you can move forward. So there we have it. That's a quick insight into commercial tenancy agreements and your obligations under that agreement. And if you've got any issues at all, I'm sure Tom from Insight will be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.